Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Monday to you all. I hope that you're having a fantastic start to your day. I hope that everything is just going well and that you are, feel like you're getting off on the right foot. I just feel like sometimes if you start off the week just feeling so uncertain and unsure and kind of shaky and things falling apart, it unfortunately is a better chance of it carrying through the rest of the week than that happening on, say, like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And I just want to encourage you that if you are starting off a little shaky, just believe that it's only one day. Think of it in your mind as like an isolated event, if you will, because even if it is a project that will span the whole week or is something that you'll be involved in the whole week, you can still break that down to be an isolated event that it's like, okay, well, this is happening right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen the rest of the day or tomorrow or for the rest of the week. So I encourage you to think of it that way. But again, happy Monday. And again, I do hope that everyone is having a good day, whether you're starting your day right now, whether you're in the middle of your day or towards the end. I hope that it's going well. Just remember that there is always the option for the 5-minute reset, which is taking at least 5 minutes to be by yourself, to kind of unload everything that's happening to you, to shake off any problems, any issues that you're experiencing, kind of reset, come back to baseline. The next part of that is to maybe take some time to problem solve whatever issues are causing you to stress and have problems, and anything that's loaded on your shoulders that's just contributing to kind of bringing you down, any burdens you may have. The third point is to make sure that you make a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for, and those can be big things, small things, or middle things. You can be grateful for making a really good breakfast or lunch today. You can be grateful that you were able to spend some time, quiet time, reading, meditating, praying, whatever you like to do. And you can be grateful that you were able to spend some time at the beach or on the lake or at the river or the creek or whatever kind of summertime body of water that you were able to get to. It doesn't have to be big, grandiose things that you're grateful for. And last but not least, before you end the 5-minute reset, make sure that you are able to walk away feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day, because the whole point is to be able to not pass along your bad day to anyone else, and to realize that with your mind shift, and that's not what I meant to say. Your mindset shift of creating your gratitude list, you'll be able to kind of take a step back and realize that despite all the bad things that may be happening to you right now, you still have many things to be grateful for, to be happy about, and to realize that yes, you can isolate bad things and annoying things and troubles and issues that come up, and realize that those things do not have to carry out through the whole week. And yeah, there might be a little bit of tinge if it's something that will be happening the whole week, but it doesn't have to ruin anything. It doesn't have to like bring everyone else down, and doesn't have to bring you down, and you can kind of just push past it and be like, okay, I can still enjoy the week. But again, I hope that you're actually having a fantastic week. This week, we are starting a new topic as we do every Monday. And today, and this week, we are talking about being brave. And that might be something that doesn't seem, I say this all the time, that it might seem like it's a topic that doesn't necessarily like fit with the vibe or the genre of the show. However, I think it does, because I want to make sure that I make room for any and all topics to discuss that will help us become our best selves, our strongest selves. And I believe that being brave is one of those really important topics to talk about, especially for me. I will admit that a lot of times certain topics, because I haven't gained like a huge audience yet or anything, is definitely topics that I have to sit down and think about what would I want to talk about, and it may sound selfish, but it's generally topics that I struggle with myself, and I just want to talk it out and, leave any knowledge and tips and advice out there for someone else that may be experiencing the same thing. And being brave is definitely one of those things that I have personally been having some trouble with, because I spend way too much time focused on what people will think and how I will fail, and, the uncertainty of everything in our lives, especially right now. And I thought that maybe other people might be experiencing that same thing, because there is so much uncertainty right now with the pandemic happening all over the world still. And I just thought I would speak on bravery this week and see if that really gives us a boost. So today, Monday, I'm going to talk about what is bravery, which I feel like is a classic topic for Mondays, because usually on Mondays I talk about what it is that we're talking about and then kind of deep dive after there. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. This week, I thought it would be helpful to talk about being brave because I know that many people, including myself, have trouble with being brave, especially in times where we really want to be brave, but everything about fear causes us to cower. I personally have been having issues with being brave because the unknown scares me so much, just so much. I have the biggest issue with getting past all my worries and thought out worst case scenarios. Does anyone else do that? Like literally just sit and list like 10 things that could go wrong with every single thing you like walk into. And this has prevented me from stepping out of my comfort zone so many times and trying new things. This fear of failure, it's just sometimes it can be so overwhelming that even the thought of trying to tiptoe up to being a little bit brave to kind of like take a small tip of my toe step out of my comfort zone is like the scariest thing, and I think I'm going to immediately fall and drown and die, and just it's super dramatic in my head, and I know I'm not alone in that. And that's why I really wanted to talk about it. And, despite me giving you advice this week all about how to be more brave, what it means to be brave, why it matters, and everyday examples, being brave still boils down to you making the choice, the decision to stop letting fear get in your way of doing things differently. And I wanted to make sure I pointed that out because, sometimes you will listen to podcasts like mine that are encouragement and motivational based and stuff like that you're like, okay, I'm going there to get tips and advice on how to do this thing and it'll lead me in the right direction. And I do mean to do that every single time. However, I feel like being brave in certain things, like I can give you all the tips in the world, but until you actually make the decision to step into that bravery that is housed in every one of us that we just haven't maybe accessed in a while or ever, maybe. I'm sure you did when you were a kid, because I feel like as children and children that I know at least and just research based, kids are just more brave. They just take more chances. They don't live in fear of the uncertainty of the world. So, I just thought I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. You still have to take that step on your own. There's nothing I could do to make you or force you to do that. It's just like the whole thing, like you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. And this is one of those situations. So I want you to know that you still have to make your own decision and actually step out and do it. So let's chat about what exactly it means to be brave. And to be brave, it means to have the mental strength to face fear, dangers, and difficulties. To be brave, you have to listen to that voice inside your head that is telling you you can do it. It's saying you can do anything, and you can do anything. Because fear is going to show up no matter what, but that doesn't mean it has to hold you back. You don't have to, it's like someone coming to the party and you like wave hi, hey, I acknowledge you, you're here, but it doesn't mean you have to necessarily interact with them. It doesn't mean that you actually have to talk to them. It doesn't mean that you actually have to deal with it at all, and I feel like that's kind of a bad example, but it is a true example because, sometimes people like me, socially awkward, or just seems so intimidating. But yeah, you don't have to. You can acknowledge that there is fear, there is uncertainty, you're not sure how this is all going to turn out, but, you're like, okay, there's fear here. I'm really scared of what could happen, how this is going to end up, what kind of things are going to be for me on the other side of this. But it doesn't mean that you can't just continue to move forward. And that's what being brave is. You have to show up and do the thing that you want to do despite fear being there, trying to tear you down, trying to tell you that you can't do it, trying to give you all these things to be afraid of, to be scared about, to worry about, and all of those things take up too much space in your mind that you can't even comprehend taking a step outside of your comfort zone to try something new, because you have all these other things kind of like blocking the gate. They're kind of like the gatekeeper of you being brave. So you have to learn that to be brave, you have to have that mental strength to face it and to realize it's not going away. There's not going to be, like, being brave doesn't mean that there isn't fear. And I know that I believe Nelson Mandela said there was a quote that he had said about that. But it doesn't mean it's going to go away. It doesn't mean you're not going to see it again. It doesn't mean it's invisible. It doesn't mean you can make it go away, but it just means that you're able to still follow through and conquer what you want to do. Shift your mindset to tell yourself that, yeah, I can still do this despite being fearful and uncertain and unsure of how this is all going to work out. And by honoring the voice inside you, the one that's telling you, you can do it, you can push through, you're strong, you're capable, you're able, and it may be big, it may be small, or somewhere in the middle. You are being your brave self and tapping into that inner mental strength. So if it's telling you hey, why don't you go and try out for that team or apply for that promotion, that job? Why don't you go talk to that person? Why don't you start sharing your passion online? Whatever it is, why don't you start telling people about what you actually want to do in life? And all of those things are just that voice inside of you, kind of encouraging you, pushing you. And if you are able to tap into that strength that it's trying to slowly feed to you, then you will honor that voice by being brave and actually following through with those desires and those wants and those things you actually want to do. And it is said that being brave and courageous is not the absence of fear, but the ability to manage and overcome your emotional response to fear. Because being fearful is definitely an emotional response. I don't feel like fear is an actual... Sometimes we can personify fear as being an actual thing in our life that's coming down on us physically. It's kind of like an actual dark cloud over our life, or something that's actually standing in our way, when in reality it's just another emotion that we are experiencing, but we're letting it get bigger than it needs to be. And so it, like I said, being brave is not, the absence of fear, but you're having the ability to overcome that emotion of fear, and this means you are in charge of what you do and how you react, rather than your emotions being in charge. And I know a lot of us, including myself, live a life where we let our emotions take charge and run our lives and dictate how we're going to be and how we're going to act and how we're going to feel, as opposed to us taking the reins back and deciding, okay, well, these really hard things have happened and these really sad events have occurred, but it doesn't mean that I have to be sad all the time. It doesn't mean I can't tap into happiness and positivity that is in my life and still be grateful for other amazing things that are still happening. It doesn't mean that I have to hold on to this anger or this stress or whatever it may be. You have the right, and you should take the reins of those emotions and take charge and decide how you're going to react and decide what you're going to do with the fear that starts to bubble up when you do start to step outside of your comfort zone. And when you are brave, you are able to sit in the unknown and it not scare you to death. And I'm not saying there won't be any fear there, so I keep reminding you, it's not that it's not going to be there at all, but any fear that does creep up will not deter you from trying, from changing, from doing something new. So it's so tough, and sitting in the unknown and the uncertainty and not shivering in your boots, that's definitely a challenge for me. Absolutely. Because I've lived my whole life battling anxiety, dealing with uncertainty, and it's really tough for a lot of people that went through significant trauma. And I'm not downplaying anyone's anxiety, because I know that everyone is dealing with something different. But for me, and for anyone that may have had a traumatic, stressful childhood, for me, there was so much uncertainty in my life that I definitely grasp onto anything that is repetitive, that is a routine that I can count on. And so when uncertainty, I've just gone through a whirlwind of so much uncertainty in my life that it does scare me so much, maybe more than the average person. And I've been trying to deal with that. I've been trying to overcome that, become stronger, become a better person with being okay with not knowing and not spending time trying to predict what's going to happen or what could happen, and having plan A through Z to attack whatever may or may not come at us. Do you know what I mean? So when you're brave, you are able to sit in the unknown. And I feel like there has been times where I've been able to sit in the unknown, sit in the uncertainty. I just kind of just have to, for me, close my eyes, clear my mind, and just step out. And it's almost like I'm pretending that I'm a different person. I'm pretending that I'm like a stronger version of myself, or a more confident version of myself, a version of myself that can still pick herself back up despite what comes at me. And I feel like I kind of flip-flop between that Sabrina where it's like I'm over here and I feel really small and scared, and other times I feel very confident and happy. And I kind of feel like I shift between personalities and how confident and brave I am, and how sad and scared I am, and just kind of how like neutral I am with all of those things. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that, and I don't think it's an actual personality disorder, just so you know. I'm definitely not. It's just it depends. I feel like for me, it depends on the situation that I am in, and like kind of the environment that is placed around me, what I've walked into. But yeah, I just, you got to be able to sit in the unknown and not let it scare you to death. And again, just realize that the fear is still going to be there, but you're not going to let it get in your way. You're not going to let it deter you from doing things, trying things, giving it a shot, falling down and failing, making mistakes, and knowing that you can still get up and try again and again and again and again. And I want to make sure you understand that being brave does not mean you won't be scared at times or have second thoughts. Like, that's definitely not what it is. It's not like a magic recipe of just like getting rid of any negative emotions, but you'll definitely have second thoughts. You'll definitely be scared and have that fear there, but true bravery will kick those things to the curb and push you to try despite those things. Being brave means pressing on despite the fear you will face and challenges that will come. So you got to continue to push forward, move forward, know that, okay, that whatever happens, you have faith that you'll be able to come through it on the other side, maybe a different person, maybe a little bit wrecked, maybe a little bit weaker, depending upon what you're going through or what you're going to try, that you have faith and belief that you'll be able to kind of heal yourself back again. If you do come back if you come through on the other side and you are a little bit weaker, you have faith that you'll be able to work yourself up to being stronger again. You'll be able to learn new lessons. You'll be able to grow and shift and have a mind shift as you're growing and becoming your better self. And so just believing in yourself. I feel like part of bravery is believing that you can go through these things and be able to come out the other side without just being totally wrecked. And even if you do feel like you're wrecked, you still have the belief system that you will be able to come through that and then just kind of like rebuild and then try again, or keep going if you've made it through, but you kind of got beaten up in the process. And I feel like a lot of times when we do get beaten up in the process, we learn so much and we grow so much and we get closer to becoming the best person that we can ultimately be, which I feel is continually changing all the time. So anyway, I just want to continue to hammer that home that you'll still be scared, you'll still have second thoughts, you'll still have fear, but you'll be able to push through and continue on. And being brave is an admirable quality, but is more often than not attributed to people that do really big things, like a fireman saves a family, or a police officer like saves a family or something like that. And that's just not all true, because being brave can be as simple as just finally deciding to get the professional help you need to manage your anxiety or depression. It could finally be telling your friends and family some sort of really big news or truth about yourself. It could be finally going out and eating a meal alone, or going to an event alone, or talking to people. It can be so many things. It doesn't have to be these big grandiose things where you're like saving families and helping people and getting on the news or being talked about. You can be brave all by yourself, alone, just going through things, making changes, making strides in whatever goals and journeys that you're on. Like, it doesn't have to be big. So I want you to remember that if you feel like you are making big strides in your life and you're being brave and you're pushing through and you are stepping outside your comfort zone, you are practicing bravery. You don't have to be these big, giant news stories or anything like that for you to be classified as brave. And lastly, the act of bravery can be a scary situation, being really overwhelming and not easy at all, but generally worth it in the end. So again, I just want you to know that bravery is not going to always be easy. I don't think it would ever be easy. Sometimes I feel like it can be a little easy when you've kind of pumped yourself up, you're full of confidence, you have boosted your courage, you are ready to just try something new, you're ready to fall on your face and make mistakes, you prepared yourself enough that you're ready to go through it. But then there's other times where you're so scared and you're so overwhelmed and you are afraid to take that first, second, third, 10th, 20th step in that direction, but you continue to do it. You continue to move forward. You're not giving up. You're not letting fear back you down. You're not letting anything put you in a corner, and if it does, you're able to push your way out and continue on. You're taking all the opportunities and experiences that you're going through as learning opportunities and using those to your benefit, and you're just becoming your strong self. And so I want to make sure that you know that, yeah, it can be scary. Yeah, it can definitely be overwhelming and not easy at all whatsoever. But just as long as you keep on going, keep on keeping on, it's going to be amazing, and you're going to continue to get even more braver as time goes on. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast, the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. I am a little all over the place today. I don't know why, but I am excited about this podcast topic this week. So just know that my excitement might be the reason why I'm kind of jumbled, and also might be me being dehydrated. I've been so terrible about hydrating this week. So if you're having issues with that, I encourage you to go drink some water, 10 chugs right now. But again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you come back and listen to the rest of the episodes for this week talking about being brave. I believe it's going to be so fun. Let me see. I can give you guys a sneak peek. Tomorrow, we are talking about what's standing in your way. So that's definitely going to be a good chat about what is standing in your way of being brave, being confident, courageous, just taking those steps forward. But again, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I hope that if you know anyone that would enjoy this episode as much as you did, please, I encourage you to share the show. I really appreciate when you do that. Come visit me on Instagram at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. Send me a DM, or if you check the description box, it has my email address in there and notes of the show, but you can go ahead and send me any questions, comments, concerns, or prayer requests, or suggestions for upcoming shows and topics and whatever you want, or tell me things that you prefer I do or don't do. I love feedback. I truly do. So anyway, have a good one, you guys. I'll see you next time, and have a great day. Bye, guys.